Hello everybody. So let's continue our incursion of the Post API. So we have the basic routes that we're going to be needed. Now let's actually work with the services. Let me close everything. I don't want to keep a lot of things open. And let's go to service folder. So the first thing that we're going to add there is the database service. And this will handle pretty much the database connection. Probably we can put in the helpers too, but let's actually, you know what? Yeah, let's put the database on my helper. Sorry for that. Let's put it there. Database.js file. And this will do all the database connection to things that we need to be done. So as you remember, let me go to my Firefox. And we're going to be using SQLite with Next. So in order to implement it, we just need to save Next as appendices, and then adding one of the following, depending what is the database is going to be used. So we're going to be using SQLite. So let me just, well, let's keep it that one there. Let's close it, sorry. Yarn add next space SQLite 3. And that way we're going to install those two dependencies. And because of that, we are going to be using also joy. So let's actually add it to yarn add happy /joy. Let's see, it's actually done. Yes, let's add it. Now we have our three dependencies there. Okay. So in the database, it's going to be really simple. And let's see a little bit about the documentation, what it says. So initially say the library is pretty much creating the next function, specify the client and the connections. And this is a MySQL example, this is a Postgres example, and this is a SQLite 3. And the SQLite 3, we just have the client and the file name, and we have something called defaults. No, it's not showing there, but we will actually use it. So this is pretty much what we need. We need a client, we need a connection. So we need to have that client here and this file name over here. In order to save those, I want to use my environmental variables. So let me go back to my environmental variables. I already have those here. So after origin, I just put my database type is equal SQLite 3, and my file name is /database SQLite. And you know what? Because just I had double quotes, I should keep this on single. Sorry, personal preference. That's going to be database, and that means that this file is going to reside in the root of a directory. Just in case, we go to the git ignore, and at the end we call the database.sqlite. That's going to be added to the git ignore in order not to posting your database to Gitcode. Let me actually just copy it to check that I actually use the same name. Copy, paste it, there you go. Now, so we have that. I just need to add it to my example with the values, just to remind me what are the variables I need to add in my final product. Now that I have that, I can actually use import next from next. That's already there, and I will create my database object that's going to be a next function, and this next function is going to have some initialization that we'll handle in a little bit. Then I use export, and by default export default my database. So I will handle my connection string and then exporting. Then I will use the same instance that is actually this file for my database for all the database requests I will need it in the future. So going back to my documentation, it says we need client and connections. Let's copy this and paste it right here. But instead of doing SQLite, we're going to do process.env dot, what we call it, database type and database file. So this is going to be my database underscore type, and instead of doing my database here, it's going to be process.env dot database file. That will actually create our SQLite file. By the way, I will recommend also to you download a SQLite reader. So this is a really good one. It's really simple. You want actually to download it in order to see the content of SQLite file. And this is for, and I believe that one is for both. If I click download, there you go. This is actually just for Windows. This one. So it's a really good one if you want to use it. If you are in a Mac computer, you can use Mac. You can use probably something like, I believe the same one, yes. Let's go to the releases. There you go. We have the DMG version and the Win64 version. This is going to be for the Windows and this is going to be for the Mac. So this is a really good one. I already have a different one installed on my computer, but just we need to have something in order to read SQLite files, right? So let's continue. So if we execute this, and actually our database, you need to import it in our service. Let's create a new file with one my post service, and this one going to actually import my database from, I'm going to specify for my helpers database for my connection, and now we can actually do something with the database itself. These servers, as the same way, is going to be imported in our route. So here on the post route, is going to import post service from, and let's actually keep it singular, not post service, from, and we're going to define another level back, services post. Just with that, let's do a simple yarn dev. It will run. And let's actually refresh this. There you go. Now you will see over here, and where is it? Oh my god, I don't see it. No, because I'm actually not doing anything there. But I have inserted default value, so we need to define something here. So that one is going to be really simple before we actually see the database file. So it pretty much is telling us that use this one as a flag in order to remove that warning. That means that here we just put that one as true, and there you go. We start again, yarn dev. It's going to be there, and we list, or it's not created yet because we actually, sorry for that. I was thinking it will be enough to create the file, but because we are not any operation yet, we are not seeing it. So let's create here const create tables, and it's going to be an asynchronous function because SQLite is it returns promises. That means that we can actually assign asynchronous functionality. That way the application is still running and just waiting for something to load, and then they get loaded whenever they need it. So we can actually have this enabled. So one of the points that we can actually have is verify from my database schema has table if the post table exists. If this table doesn't exist, we just need to create it. If not, we just don't do nothing, pretty much. So I'm defining this. Where I found this information, well, we go back here and has table is pretty much a function to check if a specific table name exists. Return the boolean to say that table actually exists. So this one is through the schema object. Perfect. And if we do a create table, and actually this this is a really good example. In verifying that table exists, if it doesn't exist, I create that particular table, and it's pretty much what we're going to be doing. So just because of that, I already have it here, and let me just paste it, and let me explain you what I'm going to be putting. So it's really simple. We're not going to await because it's asynchronous if that table exists. It doesn't exist because it doesn't have the node here. We are going to execute this code. If exists, we're going to execute this one. In this case, we don't need to return anything. We just creating the table post, and it will have an ID. That's going to be my primary key. It's going to be pretty much increment. By default, it's called ID. And it will have the title, the text, and the author. And then the timestamp created and updated that pretty much default to new date local string. So whenever a post is get created or whenever a post get updated, we will have that information saved there. But we are not pretty much, we're going to be pretty much focused on this. So after we have that, we can actually just call my create tables function just before exporting my database object. If I do that and do yarn dep, there you go. Now I have my SQLite file here. Of course, I cannot open it directly, so let me actually rebuild in Finder. And let me go back to my folder here, and let me share this screen over here. There you go. So I have my SQL file. Let me open it. And it will have my post table. We can see on the left. And I already have my ID, my title, my text, author, created, and updated. My schema is telling me integer, bar charts, and date time. I don't have index, I don't have triggers. That's okay, I don't want to complicate the data. So we saw that the information is already there. Well, the table is already there. That's pretty cool. So we can actually proceed. So now that we have the table created and we have the different element, we need to start working in the service to see if we can actually start doing something about it. The first thing, we need to create our schema or validation. For that, we're going to import joy. So before the database, actually, let's import joy. And then from that joy, what we're going to be pretty much creating is a specific post schema. This post schema, the object needs to have a title, a text, and an author. The title is required, and text and author are optional. Why do they have it optional? Let's actually no. Let's actually have those required always. So we need always send required information. I'm not putting in my schema my date, or I'm not putting in my schema my updated, because something that is going to be added programmatically. It's not to be sent by the user. This is pretty much the information that the user is going to be handled through the application. That's really important. So that's why we don't specify the ID, we don't specify the created. We want to programmatically add that, and the update is going to be pretty much the same, programmatically added. So now that we have that schema, we need to be able to create, as you say, programmatically those objects. So I will have create, actually const, and let's have a create new post object, and it will have, I will send some data, and that data I need to do something about it. And we can actually saw in our validation that we define a value if that value exists, or an error if that error is a problem with the validation. So we can actually handle those at the same string with something like this. If the error exists after putting something like this, that means that the validation failed. So create a new post object. Whenever we're going to put a new post and we send that information, we need to validate it. And the way to validate is going to be like this. So we're going to send that data to be validated in my post schema. Actually, it is called post schema. And you have error and no value. And what are you going to be returning about? Well, this is going to be returning, if the error doesn't exist, I will send all my values, because this actually gets saved as a value, and I will create my new date. And actually I need to post here to local date string. So my new post object is going to be created like this, with all the elements for my value plus my created and updated information. If not, I just return the error object completely. So this is going to be the new post object, and we need to have something really similar for an already existing post object. The only difference is we are not being sending the created. So that is whenever we update the post, we just change the updated and we leave the created date as the same way that I already had it. So that way is have pretty much the same functionality, both of them using the same schema to validate the information. Cool. Now to get everything, so we need to export const get all. That's going to be an asynchronous function, and the only things they're going to be doing is returning all the elements from my post. So I use create const post, in plural is going to be await from my DB to get my post element, my post folder, sorry, table. And after that, I just return my post. As simple as that. We need to create another one. Remember, it's going to be for the get post route. So we need to create another called get by ID, and it's going to be asynchronous. And we're going to be sending the particular ID that we require, and we will returning something. We're going to be, my post is going to get from my post for the table only when the ID is equal to the ID that I'm sending. This is pretty much the same as the ID is equal to ID, because have the same name. JavaScript allows us to keep it just one time, and this returns the first element, because I know that ID is going to be unique. If we're doing that, it's going to retrieve like an array. I don't require an array, So just give me just the object by itself. So I'm telling them, you know what, just give me the first object. Let me close my node mon. It's having issue because I saved it too much times directly. So we have the get all, it's reading from the database, and get by ID where my post is by ID. As simple by that. But we're going to return something. And I'm going to verify. We just returned that particular post. If it exists or it doesn't exist, doesn't matter. Then we need to see how to add a specific post. And again, how to get this information, how I do this. Of course, it's on the documentation. I recommend to go through the documentation. It will look for select. It will the select element, but without specifying that select is promote having that. And the where is when we can actually specify the different elements that we need to have validated or script. So select everything is pretty much the same as, where is it? Well, somewhere there. So I'm doing select everything from users. We can remove that and just put the object users. And that means it's going to be exactly the same as all this information. That's why I like Next. It's saving me a little bit of typing and helping me to keep things clear. So in order to add, we want to have export const add equal to going to be asynchronous, and I will send the post information. It's going to receive it, and we'll do something about it. The first thing I'm going to be doing is I will create my post object. That's going to be pretty much create new post object from my post. That means it's going to validate my information. If the information is valid, it will allow me to continue. And after getting that, I need to verify if my post object have the error element. If it doesn't have the error element, I will pretty much, and let's keep it a little better. Let's do an if else. So if my post object doesn't have my error element, what I need to do is inserting that particular post for my post object, right? But there is something here. This insert element returns something. Let's look in the documentation. Insert. I don't need the batch insert. You specify what can be returned, or by default, let me go to the top. And then look for insert. There you go. We can actually specify return everything, because by particular what it does is just returning the ID. So let's actually have this returning everything, and it's going to be my const, my post database object. It's going to be equal that, and then I will return by my post database object. If it doesn't exist, or if I had an error, I will just pretty much let me say return, actually the post object, because it will pretty much return that error. And the one that I need to be returning here is not my post object, it's going to be my post object.value. This is really important. And that's it, pretty much. So if I don't have an error, I insert that the value of already validated information, and I will return pretty much everything. And then that same one is the one that's going to be presented to the route. If not, I just return the error by itself, because the post object what I have is an error object in there. So we can leave it like that. Now we need to handle the update, I believe. So let me verify save this. Let me see what we have. We have the get everything, get var ID. We have the posting, like creating a new one, and then the update. So let's create another export const update. That's going to handle my update information asynchronous. And in here we're going to be sending my post information and my ID. Remember that it's pretty much like the body of the elements that are going to be playing, and the ID will came from the URL pretty much. So I will take in those two and do a, there's going to be a function, and this function pretty much is I will verify first if that actually exists. So let me just copy my notes here. I think if I have a little bit more. There you go. So we'll verify if that actually exists. If that post actually exists, I will create a post object and not a new one, the normal one with that post. That means it's going to be the updated, going to be changed. And I will change the post object dot value, I believe. And probably I can do the same validation that we did here. If my post object doesn't have an error, I will do that. If not, after this one I will do this. Something like this probably, yes. So it doesn't have an error, I will return that particular post after getting updated with my value information, that the one that I'm actually sending. If not, I will return null, or I will return the post object error. That's pretty much what we needed. Actually, this needs to be here, and this one needs to be null. Yes. Now that we have the updated, we need to have the remove, and that's going to be really simple. Get an ID, and then we'll look for that ID and delete that object. As simple as that. So that's going to be pretty much all our handling in our database to get it. I know that I went a little bit quick, but it's actually not difficult, and you will have the source code in the description, so you can actually see the more details later. So now that I have all those, I'm pretty much exporting everything. I can go now to my post, and I will import everything as post services from this one. That way we can actually do in my response JSON. For my response is going to be, of course, need to be await, and I can actually do something like this. I will await and get my post services, get alt, where get alt promote get everything that I needed. So for one particular ID, I will do something like this. My post is going to be await post service get by ID. If that post exists, I will send it. If not, I will create a 404 status and I will end it. That will pretty much end my request. So if that post exists, send it. If not, 404 doesn't exist. As simple as that. To create a new post, the same. I will verify that post need to be in the body, and I will show you that in a little bit. If that post exists in the body, I will send my adding that post particular. If not, I will send an error that pretty much a bad request. And a poop emoji because I like emojis. What can I say? The put is going to be a little bit more different. Actually, not that different. And I have a little more complicated one here because I already have my finished product. So let me just remove the one that we don't need it. So post service get by ID, I will get it. So if I have a information there, and that it have the body, and that post actually exists, both of those actually there, I will not require this one yet, and this one either. So I will just update with my post body, and I will send my request parameter ID. If not, I haven't just a bad request. As simple as that. And for deleting, is something really similar to this one. Let me just remove the one that I don't need. I don't need this one, and I don't need this one yet. I will look for that post, if that post exists. If that post exists, I will pretty much remove it. If not, I will send it a 404 that doesn't exist. And I believe that this is everything. Let's see if it actually works. Let's do yarn dev. Actually not, let me run it from here, going to be better. Yarn dev. Excellent. Oh, I don't have the authorization yet. So that's something that's going to be handled later. Let me see. Didn't like it in the delete. Oh, I have the authorization here. Sorry for that. I just copied from my final notes, and we will see that pretty much actually in the next video. So we have pretty much all the information. So let's do a get request on the post, and I get an empty array because we don't have a post. So let's actually create a new one. So let's send a post, send it there. We have a bad request. We have an issue, right? Why? Because we are not sending the information that we need to be sent. And we can actually see that in here. So we created first a get request. It was successfully. And then we have a post request and came out with a bad request. What came out with a bad request? Because we don't have a body. So we can actually see that over here, that it doesn't exist. I just sent it that one. So we need to send that body. And how we create the body in Postman is actually really simple. And I believe it's really simple. I don't remember, sorry. Request, in the body, we're going to send the raw, and it's going to be JSON format, and it's actually requesting or accepting to have a post element. As you can see it here, we're looking for a request body post. So we're going to send the post. Let's send it like this. Let's see what happened. we have an error. It says the title is required. We don't have a title specified, so we're not saving anything. There's actually then title, my first post. Let's try to send it again. Text is required, or the content. So we have that validation. We cannot actually save on something without having the information. This is the content of my first post. Very cool, right? Sorry, I get excited about this. I like it a lot. So let's try it. And I say the author is not there. For now, let's just put simple author is going to be, and it is going to be changed in the next video. But for now, let's just put my name. So we're sending that, and we're having an issue. Let me see what is actually happening. Okay, here's the issue, and it actually came up in my logs. So there is a bad issue in SQLite that pretty much saying that returning is not supported by SQLite 3. So it's something that need to be changed, and that's why. And because I didn't have that in my notes, I just find it right now in the documentation. I was thinking it was pretty cool to have it. But let's actually change that. So let me cancel this. And it didn't get saved. So I will go back to my service. And this will be pretty much in the adding post. So this what it does pretty much is an ID. So we're going to pretty much create that post. And let me see my notes real quick. Where I have it? Here. So pretty much I create an ID and then I'm returning get bar ID with the ID that I'm pretty much expecting. It's something really quick. So let me already change that. Let me start my development environment. Cool. Let me send this post again. And now I have another issue. And counter promises. We have an issue. Without a caching block. Something is not working the way that it's supposed to. So let's actually start troubleshooting. So if this doesn't get that long, I will keep that part in the video. If it gets just too long, probably will just cut it. But let's actually start looking at what is happening. So in order to, the do that I do for troubleshooting is over here. Just still going to be returned. Return this. Actually, now I'm not returning anything. So let me just console.log. Actually, request.log.debug my post information. Now get save it. Let me send it again. And something is happening there. It's not even making the call. So that means it's not even getting the here. So let me just close this. Just in case, let me delete my SQLite and let me start over. Okay, my SQL will get created again. I will send it. Count the project problem. That means this does be getting there because something. If I remove this, inspect token. Oh, I have an error. If I have this, so it was my validation. My info. Very interesting. So it's getting my post, but didn't save here. This was my error before because I had that extra comma, but something is happening here. So let me doing the request log debug. Let me actually do console log, and let me send it again. And I'm sending the information. Okay, the information is being sent. Let me add the element that is missing. Let's premos the author, and let me format this a little bit. There you go. So it's getting there. So probably we have an issue with the adding. So now we know that we are stepping here, so I can actually delete this part. And let me go to the adding console.log inside add. If I did see this, I know that I get entered to this section. So let me try again. Inside add. Okay, I'm getting here. That means can I actually print my post? Oh, I know what is the issue. This should not be my post object value because I'm already extracting the value. So I'm sending premo the post object as it is. So the value doesn't exist actually. So let me remove those from here. And probably that one will be here too. So when I create it, when I new one, I'll update. And let me remove this console log. And let me try to insert it again. There you go. Yeah, that's why. So I get confused. I'm sorry for that. So when we do the validation is returning an error and a valid object. So we're saying, okay, when the error exists, send that error. But when we have the value, we extract the value element. So we already did that. So the value by itself doesn't exist, the value key, just the value elements. So we extract that value element and we adding the date when that post get actually updated. So we saw that it's actually working. Very cool. So let me add a second one. Second post. Let's do a simple hello there by my friend Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't know if Obi-Wan actually is like that. Obi-Wan. Yes. Sorry. So let me send it. And we'll have another post with ID 2. Get that information. If we change this to a GET request, the body doesn't matter here. And we send it. We will have the post number 1 and the post number 2. If we do a GET request with post number 1, we just get that particular one. If we do a request with post number 2, we get that particular one. They do know that doesn't exist. We have the 404 that actually doesn't exist. So this is my second one. Let me do a put. And let me change the name, and let me change the hello there with exclamation point. Let me send it. So now without that the text have that exclamation point, the name had that right there, and we can actually see that the update changed with the time right now. So I did it like a minute after that, very much 58 seconds later. So without that, so we can actually start sending this, and you will see that the updated is going to be changing every time. That means that we're keeping record whenever this post gets updated, and they created this stays the way that it's supposed to. Let's actually add a third one, and let's call this the ugly post, blah blah, from somebody. Did get in there, perfect. So if I do a get request to everything, all those posts are getting there. Before I continue, I actually look at my database, and this database doesn't exist because I already deleted it. So let me open a new one, and you will see in my post have 3 different records. So without that, everything is actually working and actually gets saved to the database the way that it's supposed to. So let's delete that last one. So let's change this to delete, and I will delete the post with ID number 3. We should receive an OK message, and after that, if we do get everything, that one should not be there anymore, and without the inner database, that one get deleted. Perfect. So I believe we have pretty much everything. So let's continue with this. The only thing is going to be missing now, and I believe I can close this. Actually, let me keep my post open. Let me console this, and let me do a git status. So I change all these elements. So let me just git add everything and git commit -m, and my message is going to be blog post services done. And let me just push it in order to have it in my GitHub repository. Perfect. Now I can go to my GitHub, refresh. I have 11 commits. The last one is my post services done. So that means I have everything here. So I can now, let me close all this and go to DigitalOcean. Let me deploy it. Let me sign in. I go to my project. I will create a new domain. In this case, I'm going to call blog API, pointing to my backend. 30 seconds. It's the only things that I need to do here. And that way, I can do SSH to my API server. So I can actually call the first API or blog API because it's just the server. It's pretty much the same. And from here, what I need to be doing, I need to clone it. So we just do git clone this one. I will go to my blog API. I will start more dependencies with yarn. I wait for a little bit. I will copy my example to be my env, and then I open my env to have this. My environment is going to be production. My port is going to be 3001, different because I already have my basic API run, or my first API running in the 3000. It needs to be a different port, guys. That's really important. The application name is actually going to be blog API app. Origin going to be everything. SQL, and how I have it, yes, SQLite 3, and going to be in database .SQLite. Perfect. Control X, yes to save, enter. Now I need to build it, yarn build. And now I need to do, let me see if I find it. It's not here. Okay, let me go to see my CTP nodes. Let me go to my backend server setup, and I have it here. But the code is going to be called blog API start. Now we have the first API and the blog API running in two different ports, and this one doesn't show the ports actually. Let me do pm2ls. Okay, it didn't restart. That means that the application is running the way that it's supposed to. This is pretty cool. Now the only things that need to be handled here is my sudo nano. I need to go to my etc folder, nginx conf d, and I will create my blog api.conf. And I will paste this information here. The only difference is going to be called the server name, change it to blog API, and in this case I'm using roller format SYC, and the port is running in the port 3001. That's important. I'm going to Control X, yes, sudo nginx -t to test, so the configuration is fine. Sudo nginx -s reload to restart nginx. That means that I can actually go to here, sorry, and I could do to http blog api.rodolfo roman syc. The blog API app is there. Perfect. We know that the application is up and running, but we're doing HTTP. Let's do the secure port, and that one is through Servbot. So we just run the last command that we have here. I'm going to say it's going to go to the blog API, so it's going to do the first one. Enter. My email is already there, so it didn't ask me for that. So whenever it's completely creating the certificate, I just change to redirect. Perfect. So now I have my API up and running. And sorry for this because it looked like I lost it. It's here. So now let me do it to HTTPS. Is there? Excellent. Let me do API. And let me do post. It's nothing. Let me do a post request. My body is going to be raw JSON. And this one's going to be probably just because I'm lazy. Let me get one of the old ones. This one have everything. And I will send it to now. Instead of doing to the local host, I will do to the blog API. I will send it. You return it. Excellent. Let me do a get to everything. Ensure. Excellent. We can actually delete it. Doesn't matter. Oh, I need to post. Sorry. Indicate it there. So we saw that the functionality is there. Or application to deploy it, or server to deploy it, and we can start consuming it. So I know that I went a little bit fast. So if you have any doubt or any question, don't hesitate to reach me, send me a message, email, anything. I will reach you as soon as possible. Of course, you have access to the source code. You can actually dig it a little bit, but I believe it's semantic enough to understand what is actually happening and how the information is actually structured a little bit. And I believe that's it for now. So I will stop this lesson here. In the next week lessons, what we're going to do is going to create our front end that will consume this API, and then we will add in the backend. We will do the complete front end with authentication and everything. We're going to use Firebase for that, and then we want to validate that that user get authenticated. We have everybody can read, but not everybody can actually save it. So it's something that we need to verify that we can actually do or not. So we will handle that too. And it's pretty cool because we're going to handle authentication in an API, validation, and authorization. It's something really cool. It's going to be a little bit complex, but we are walking in exciting times, I believe. Again, I hope that you like it. Reach me, any question, any doubt that you have. Meanwhile, happy coding, everybody.